In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we talk about some stuff that's been happening here in my own home state of Idaho, as well as we're going to say goodbye to a legend. It's going to be a tough episode. At least it is for me. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, episode 253, Victory and Valhalla. Enjoy. All right, as mentioned in the teaser there, we're going to talk about some stuff happening here in my home state of Idaho. I know I'm a little late to the party here, but you're just going to have to deal with me. That's just is what it is going to be. Let me fix my screen here so we can get to the right page at the right time. I was doing some show prep today. Today's kind of a rough day for me, this afternoon anyways, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's see, what did I want to read first here? Man, do you guys get all these ridiculous ads? Gosh, freaking ads on the internet. And it's always on the websites that you like. I know this is kind of a complete side note, but it is what it is. I think this is the one I wanted to read. We have so many. You think I would have prepped a little better? I have a bunch of stuff from the Idaho Dispatch. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure this is the one I wanted to read. Okay. Let's actually talk about it, and we'll get there finally. Anyway, so in Twin Falls, which is a few hours from me, it's kind of a cool place. In fact, I touched on this a little bit a few episodes ago, I think. Twin Falls is an interesting place. You got the Snake River Canyon there. It's super deep, actually. There's a lot of videos of people doing base jumping off. I think it's called the Ivy Bridge. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's the bridge that goes across the Snake River Canyon. It's a long ways down, actually. So dudes like to free jump off of there, base jump off of there, pop the parachute just before they hit the river. I want to say it's like 500 feet. It's quite a ways down there. Plus, the span of the bridge is like, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile, half a mile. So it's pretty amazing. It's quite beautiful, actually, especially in the springtime. There's actually a little golf course down there in the bottom of the canyon. It's pretty. If you get a chance to go there, check it out. The reason why it's called Twin Falls, look, we're going to have a little Travel Channel stuff here going on. The reason why it's called Twin Falls is they have, I can't even remember the name of the waterfalls, but it's bigger than Niagara Falls. And in the springtime when the runoff is huge, or high, I should say, those waterfalls are epic. Like, it is cool looking. So if you get a chance, if you're driving through Idaho and you're driving past Twin Falls, go check out the waterfalls. They're pretty amazing. And check out the Snake River Canyon. Other than that, Twin Falls itself, the city itself, is kind of mid, as the kids say. It's okay. It's a different kind of town. It's all right. I mean, it's just an Idaho farming town. But they have some gun stores there, which is always good. So anytime you're traveling, you got to stop at some gun shops, buy some ammo, or I don't put your name on a federal list so people are watching you. You know, just normal things. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. So apparently there's there's a couple gun shops in town there in Twin Falls. There's, pawn shops. There's more than 2 gun shops in Twin, but between the gun shops and the pawn shops in town there, the Twin Falls Police Department encourages them to use something called Leads Online. Now, I know when I worked in the 2 different gun shops where I ran, we used Leads. So you need to know what Leads is, or at least purports to be. So whenever we took in, at least, okay, this is my experience. Whenever we took in a used gun, we used Leads Online, because what it would do is you'd put in the information of the firearm, and you could put in the information of the person selling the firearm. As far as I remember, I don't think you have to put the individual's information in, but it's been a while. I don't think you have to put in, sorry, I had a coughing fit there. That's why we had to go to emergency break. Okay, I think we're good. I don't think you put in... Oh, now that I try to talk, it doesn't talk very well. But I'll fight my way through it. I don't think you had to put the individual selling the gun. I can't remember if you had to put their information in, their personal information. But as far as I remember, you put in the make, model, and serial number of the firearm that you're taking in as a used gun. And then it uses that information on a national database, and it'll tell you, hey, this gun may be stolen, it may not be stolen. I looked at it as a useful tool because in both shops that I ran, we bought a lot of used guns. I mean, used guns, there's a better margin on them. Usually, dang it. Sorry, my voice is all cracky now. Usually, used guns, they move faster, so it's a good way for the shop to make money. So, anyways, here back to Twin Falls, these two different gun shops. The Twin Falls PD said you had to use, as far as I understand what's going on in the story, is you had to use them because all the other shops are using them. So they kind of felt pressured, but there is no state law. There is no county ordinance or city ordinance that says you have to use leads online if you're going to do business here in Twin Falls. And so these gun stores, after looking at leads and looking at the information that you needed, so maybe you did have to put the personal information of the person selling the gun to the FFL. They didn't want to put that information in there. And they felt like Leeds was creating a database of individuals' information, which is against federal law, right? I know we've talked about this before. It is against federal law to retain information of individuals and firearms, right? The government cannot retain this information. So these two gun shop individual owners, different shops, different FFL numbers. These two shops, individual FFL owners, they felt like that the city was retaining personal information that was gleaned off of leads online, which is a big flag, right? A major, dare I say, red flag. The shop owners felt like that the city of Twin Falls could use that information for other purposes. Again, that there's a federal law saying you can't keep personal information or any kind of gun database or anything related to firearms ownership. It's against the law. So, did I say that it was against the law enough? Did you guys get that? So, Idaho Dispatch, which is a local freedom-related online newspaper, pretty good actually. I know Greg personally; he's a good dude. Anyways, he's got a few different articles on here. That's why I was like, which one do I open? Because there's one that just came out yesterday. Or do I have two of the same article? Maybe that's half the problem. Maybe I'm just stupid, which is true. What happened was the I cannot say this name. I'm going to butcher her name. She's the rep from Twin Falls, a representative. So her name is Glenda Zuderfeld. I think Zuderveld. It's hard. It's an interesting name. Miss Glenda, the senator from Twin Falls, her chief of staff, thank goodness, who has a name I can pronounce, Paul Skinner, sent this email, right? So Idaho Dispatch sent him an email, and then they talked to Raul Labrador, who's the state attorney general. Let's see. Let's just read this real quick. I know it's kind of... I should have planned ahead a little bit better. But I was reading emails. I was watching videos of Paul Harrell. It's just what it is. All right, regarding this is from Skinner. From Skinner to Zudefeld. Gosh. Zuider... Glenda. Says, regarding your inquiry below, we have jurisdiction over this issue. So, Skinner must be... gosh. Okay. Whatever. Regarding... This is class. Great content, Steve. You're doing good, buddy. Great content. Regarding your inquiry below, we have jurisdiction over this issue. The statute, which was passed in 2023, is Idaho Code 18-3326 Alpha, The relevant portion states, except for those records kept during a regular course of a criminal investigation and prosecution or as otherwise required by law, a state government entity or local government may not knowingly and willfully keep or cause to be kept any list record or registry of privately owned firearms or any list, record, or registry of owners of those firearms. Okay, so it's against state law to keep those records. The statute also states that the Attorney General may investigate alleged violations of this section. If we find a violation, we're supposed to provide written notice and an opportunity to correct it. If it is not corrected, our office shall pursue an injunction. Because the Attorney General has a responsibility to investigate this matter, I am reluctant to provide legal opinion addressing the specifics of this Twin Falls matter for you at this time. So Skinner has to be with Idaho Attorney General. So it didn't really make that clear in the beginning, and I didn't catch that for some reason. Anyways, so Idaho Dispatch, they reached out to Lieutenant Thusen of the Twin Falls Police, and Twin Falls did release a statement. I'm not going to read that right now. They reached out to Miss Glenda. Let's see. This is her response. Sorry, there's a lot of responses in this email. So the representative reached back to Idaho Dispatch and said this: we appreciate the prompt and thorough response from the Attorney General's office regarding our issue here in Twin Falls, as well as the confirmation of jurisdiction over this matter. It is reassuring to see that it is assuring to receive the law being upheld to protect the rights of Idahoans, particularly safeguarding our Second Amendment. I fully support the outlined steps in addressing potential violations and have confidence that the Attorney General's office will continue to act in the best interest of our citizens. I look forward to collaborating on this and other critical issues. You know, if I was smart, I would actually share this screen. What a hanyak. Let's do this. Let's see. QRF is one of the ranges in Twin Falls. They reached back to Idaho Dispatch after the Attorney General's notice that they're going to investigate. We are encouraged by what the Attorney General has noticed in their response to the government tracking gun owners or their firearms. This shows that when one or two people stand up for their rights, there is a ripple effect for other citizens who will stand up as well. This also shows that we will never quit fighting, even in the face of criticism or when some believe the issue is minor. Our rights must be protected, no matter how big or small it may seem. We hope to move from this issue soon and look forward to hearing from the city's response to the AG. And then here is, this is the response from Homestead Tactical, which is the other firearms FFL holder there in Twin that wasn't using leads. We so often hear of the apathy of citizens and their governments toward the protection and safeguarding of our rights. What AG Labrador has done today, where he's chosen to take a stand, is encouraging beyond measure and begins to restore hope in our systems of governance. It restores our faith in the judicial system that doesn't play favorites or cater to related entities within that system. This effort we're trying to bring to the light benefits every single Idahoan, and I should say probably everybody in the country, as long as more people jump on this. This isn't about some small gun shops in some small town of Idaho's. It's about protecting and preserving our rights to privacy as citizens. Thank you, AG Labrador, for standing on the side of freedom and truly standing up for the state and the federal constitutionalists. Boom. That's so good to hear. And then Christy Zitto, we've actually had her on the show before. It's been quite a while back. She used to be one of our some representation in the state here. She's awesome. She is now in charge of Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, which is another great local 2A organization here in Idaho. So she stated this: I am proud to support gun owners, and specifically QRF and Homestead Tactical, for standing up to the right to keep and bear arms. Our rights are only protected for as long as citizens stand up and fight. Did you hear that? What have I been saying to you guys for a while? Our rights are only protected for as long as citizens stand up and fight. Okay? Please put that in the old gray matter in the skull there. Keep that for issues, because you need to know that. You need to know that you can have the courage to stand up and fight. The more people understand that, the more free this country will be. The more free your counties and cities will be. The AG's opinion confirms that local government agencies' requirement to turn over private information about citizens and their firearms is against the law. Moreover, the AG's opinion clearly says that gun shops cannot even voluntarily turn over this information, as the records being kept by any Idaho police agency violates Idaho law. It also clearly violates the Second Amendment. I am grateful for AG Labrador's office ensuring the rights of Idaho's gun owners are protected. Now get this, the NRA actually made a statement on this, for what that's worth. Oh, let's see. Law-abiding gun owners should not have to be concerned that personal data will be unlawfully collected and potentially misused when they purchase a firearm or ammunition. The NRA strongly advocated for and supported a 2023 law in Idaho that prohibits the retention of firearm purchase records. This law establishes important privacy protections for gun owners that are essential to preventing the establishment of an unconstitutional gun registry or third-party misuse. So they also Idaho Dispatch reached out to Hannah Hill of National Association for Gun Rights, and she sent this back to Idaho Dispatch. We are very glad to see I can read, I promise, I can. We are very glad to see the Attorney General's office taking this violation of the state's preemption law seriously, and we look forward to the results of the investigation. Regardless of intent, tracking any part of a gun transaction data in a third-party database is a violation of the law, and we trust that this de facto gun registry will end quickly. See, I told you I could read. Anyway, this is it's a great report, and it's great to see that things actually happened. So there's actually an update to this story. So and this, I'm not going to read this one actually, because this one is a lot longer, honestly. So what happened is Idaho Dispatch in digging deeper into this, they wanted to see other gun shops that actually used the leads online, and two of them reached back and told them why they did it, and one of them didn't, which I'm disappointed that in this one. It just is disappointing, and I don't know why the manager didn't reach back and tell them why. But let me switch this back here. So basically, they reached back to Greg Pruitt from Idaho Dispatch and said, yeah, this is why we use it. It's great. It's handy to have around. And they use it, like I say, to see if these firearms are stolen. I know that the gun shops I worked at, the ones that I ran, that's why we used leads online. I don't remember having to put in any information about the person selling the gun. That very well may have happened. I just can't remember. It's been a while since I've had to do it. But if it is what these two gun shops in Twin Falls are saying, if they're retaining data that can be used to trace firearms in an illegal database, especially third party that has no federal regulation, that's a big deal. So it's encouraging to hear Raul Labrador. Again, he's Idaho's state attorney general. Good dude. I'm glad to see him kind of push back on this, and I'm curious to see what the investigation comes out and shares. Why is this important to you? Maybe you don't live in Idaho. You're like, Steve, this is such a lame story. Why are you sharing this? Hold on, I got to itch my ear. It is what it is. I showered, I think. Why is this information so important to me? I live in Oregon or Wisconsin or whatever. Because Leads Online is not an Idaho program. It is national. So as you go and buy maybe a used gun from your favorite dealer, maybe ask them you guys use Leads Online? Have you heard of the story in Idaho and how the Idaho Attorney General put the squash down on it because they're retaining data, retaining information of the person selling that gun that can be searched by local and state and federal law enforcement. So that's why it's a big deal, because though it's a useful tool to find out if a gun is hot, stolen, it can be used for an alternative motive. So there's that dynamic there. Kind of interesting. I'll keep you updated on this the more I learn about it. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. All right. So there's more to what I wanted to share. Some crazy, crazy day. I tell you what, it's been a rough day for me. Not terribly rough. Let me pull this down again and see. Gosh, Steve, why can't you use your computer? Are you illiterate? Illiterate? Okay. So, as I alluded to a few times in this video, we lost a legend today. Paul Harrell, we talked about him a few times. We actually, was it last year when he mentioned that he had cancer, pancreatic cancer. We talked about him a little bit. He passed away today. So Paul Harrell is, if you don't know who Paul Harrell was, it's just, I'm not getting tearied yet. That's just my junk in my throat. The dude is a legend. Paul Harrell's been around for like 11 years on YouTube. He's been producing great content. A lot of people don't like Paul because he's very matter of fact. His humor is incredibly dry, but his content is sound and solid. He has a way of, or had a way of teaching and sharing his knowledge that anybody, I would think, that anybody could absorb and understand. He is an absolute, or was an absolute legend. Oh, I remember what I was going to talk about otherwise. Dang it. We still got a few minutes. So let's, since we're talking about Paul, let's talk about Paul. So let me do this. Oh, Mr. Harrell.
I took a look.
Gosh dang it, Steve-O.
I took a look at that Judge revolver, and the reason it malfunctioned was because some .410 ammunition doesn't fit the cylinder very well.
This is classic.
And as it tried to rotate, it just jammed.
This video is talking about
also,
shooting
did you
from
notice
bed.
that 4-pellet buckshot only made a pattern about so big on the target? Some people will say that the Taurus Judge is a good home defense gun
would get out
because
there
the pattern spread will
in the rain
enhance
to
your
make a
hit
video?
probability. That
Not a
didn't
lot of
really hold
dudes.
true here. But let me show you one
Nothing
more
face
gun.
this dude.
And yes, you counted right. That's a 7-shot 6-shooter. One other point I want to make is, when evaluating where an entry point might be, like through a window or a door, if you're not sleeping by yourself, you want to make sure that whoever you're sleeping with is not between you and that entry point. I also want to make the point that if you're sleeping with a handgun like this, there's a good chance that you are sleeping by yourself. Keep that in mind. So, as always, don't try this at home. I'm what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the shooting from your bed video.
I mean, the dude is an absolute legend. I mean, look at this video.
It's pluses, but it seems to have its minuses too.
Talking
But
about body
again,
armor.
I think we can agree that the damage to our meat target was less with the body armor on. So is body armor worth wearing? You be the judge.
Oh, what a freaking legend, dude. What an absolute legend. I was going to show this video as well.
This is what he
was
saw.
talking about the Miami-Dade shooting.
And that's pretty much what that guy saw as soon as...
Yeah. So, Paul, we're going to miss you, man. We're going to miss your videos. We're going to miss your dry humor. You're just, you're part of, for anybody that's been in the 2A space for a long time, you're just a part of our lives. And I'm glad we can go back and revisit your videos. And I'm glad to hear that your brother Roy is going to keep the things alive that you have. Your channel's going to be around forever. And you're going to be missed. We love you, Paul. And man, it's hard to say goodbye. But you know what? Heaven just got a lot more exciting. Because Paul Harrell's there. I'm convinced of it. Absolute legend. I remember what I was going to share with you, too. I wanted to jump in on this a little bit. We're going to have to do some bleeping.
You know that they couldn't get No, wait. No, before we go on, I have to say, either you think he purposely shot that cinematographer, or you think he didn't purposely shoot her. And if he didn't purposely shoot her, then it's all fucking bullshit. Am I wrong?
No, it's a situation. I think
I had to edit some of that
I'm
out.
being fair
It's talking
enough
about
to
Alec
say
Baldwin.
that
This is actually kind of interesting. That's Quinton
the
Tarantino.
armorer
Pulp Fiction.
is 90. The guy who handles the gun. Then armorer is 90% responsible for everything that happens when it comes to that gun. But the actor is 10% responsible. The actor's 10% responsible.
All right.
It's not
So-
just, it's a gun. You have to, you
So
are
this
a
is kind of
partner
interesting.
in the
It's an interesting take from a
responsibility
director,
to some
right?
degree.
Well, so what do you do to test it?
Listen to this.
They show it to you. You go. If there's steps to go through, you go through them, and you do it. And it's done with due diligence, and you know it's for real. All right. And so, okay, here's how an actor can handle it. I'm not talking about
Well, what
that
should
situation.
what should he have done? Looked into the barrel, or shot it
Listen
one?
to
I mean,
this.
you can't shoot it, because then you're using
If
it.
he went through the steps that he's
So it's
supposed to,
obvious that these guys are relaxed with liquor. I don't know. Maybe Quinton is just a weirdo, which he is a weirdo. Anyway. But it's interesting listening to a director talk about firearm safety on the set. And what he expects, or his perception of how the armorer, who he says is 90% responsible for what happens on the set with a firearm, and the actor is 10% responsible. But shouldn't he know? Listen to these rules listen to his perception of the firearm safety rules.
go through, then he should.
What are the steps?
Well, it's okay, so you see the barrel is clear. They show you that the barrel is clear, that there's not a.
Are you looking down the barrel, or are you looking in the chamber? Because it's not very clear here, Mr. Tarantino. I understand you're intoxicated and weird, but you're not explaining yourself.
Anything wedged in between the barrel, you actually show you the barrel. All right, you look at you. They show it to you the barrel, and then they show you some version of here are our blanks. These are the blanks.
Okay, so there's no mention of the basic 4 firearm safety rules. What are they? We're always going to treat everything like it's loaded. Because of that, we're never going to point at something we're not willing to shoot. We're going to keep our finger off the trigger outside the trigger guard until we've made the conscious decision to fire. Then we want to know what our target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond. No mention of those 4 rules at all. I mean, these are firearms they're playing with. Interesting.
Thanks. And then here's the gun. Boom. Now you're ready to go. It's ready for 2, or it's ready for 3. And if an actor is.
It's crazy to me how nonchalant they are about this. I mean, they're just referring to Alec Baldwin shooting a cinematographer, killing her, and injuring the other guy. Okay? And then he references the case and saying it's BS and all this crap. Why isn't a director who has made millions and millions of dollars off of violent movies, obviously these guys are both anti-gun, millions of dollars off these movies, but he can't explain 4 basic rules. If he has an armor on set, which I'm assuming he does, because he says that whenever there's a firearm, that the armor has 90% responsibility on that set. But I assume, I mean, he's trying to talk about these safety rules, so he must have witnessed something at some time, what the armor expects the actor to do and what the actor is supposed to do in return. Not one time did they talk about the safety rules? Or maybe is he just completely sloshed, so drunk that he can't figure his ass from his elbows? That could be too. I mean, Pulp Fiction, one of the greatest movies. I know I shouldn't like that movie, but it is so weird enough that I do like it. It's one of my favorite movies. Is that one violent? Did they use guns in that movie? Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty rough movie. So he has to have understood, And he's been in lots of movies himself, right? Not only does he direct, but he has acted in the past with firearms. Reservoir Dogs, wasn't that the one he was in? Like, you can't explain 4 general basic safety rules. You're telling me, like he said, they look at the barrel, they show you the barrel. Please don't tell me that like they're looking down the barrel. I'm assuming that they're talking about the chamber of the firearm. He just doesn't know what it's called. I hope that it's just his ignorance in the nomenclature of firearms that he just can't explain it. I hope. But anyway, I just thought this was interesting, coming from a director of a lot of movies, a lot of violent movies involving firearms. To me, this kind of tells you the culture of Hollywood and why accidents happen like that. Now, I think there's only been 2, The Crow and Rust, I think are the only 2 where it's ended in death. But I would assume there's been lots of injuries because blanks can still cause serious injuries if you're not paying attention. And he talks about, oh, it's cool. We use, what's his name? Bill Maher says, why don't you just, add it in post, like use CGI? And Quinton's like, because you're missing the raw, visceral feeling of the firearm. Like you want to see the fire come out of the end of the barrel. You want that because it's visceral, it's real. Otherwise, it's just fake. And this is why he likes using blanks. And I get that, right? I get that. But firearms are dangerous. Even if their movie prop only allow blank firearms, they're still dangerous. That blast is coming out of that muzzle regardless. Unless you're using something to do it in post. And I'm sure plenty of movies have done that. But Quinton doesn't like to do that. And he's made lots of violent videos or movies. So I find it interesting that a dude that's made lots of movies and a lot of money involving firearms can't explain safety. Now, I guess if you look at it like Henry Ford, he didn't have to know everything. He just had to hire somebody who knew enough about that particular subject to have questions answered. Maybe that's Quinton's point of view, right? I'll just hire an armor that takes care of everything and I don't have to worry about it. And that could be too. I mean, you got to give him some kind of benefit of the doubt, I guess. You don't have to, but let's do, just in case. But he's directed enough movies. Again, he's made enough movies to know the spiel. How many other directors are this nonchalant about firearms? And all these people, I mean, these are the people who are trying to tell you to give up your guns. They can't even express the dangers of them. Isn't that crazy? To me, that's interesting. Now, Bill Maher, for his credit, he's had a lot of 2A commentators on his show on HBO. I don't think his mind will ever change on the Second Amendment. Maybe he's a little open on it. He said, I remember watching not too long ago, he has a gun. He was talking to, I don't remember who he had on his show, and it was a gal, and she even said, yeah, I have a gun. And both of them are like, I don't want to use it. I'm too scared to use it, but I have a gun. So guns are okay for the elites, but they're not okay for you because you are too stupid to use it. Yet, we just watched Tarantino here, who can't explain it. And yeah, he's an oddball. He's a weirdo. Total weirdo. All right, where's my main screen here? Anyway, I just thought these were kind of two interesting, or I guess 3 interesting things for you to watch. The Idaho Second Amendment, the Idaho Dispatch story on the Twin Falls gun stores and how the Attorney General is kind of handling that. Again, I'll keep you up to date when I learn more about that. And please, if you're buying guns, ask your gun shop about leads online, if they're using it, how that information is input, and if they know where that information goes and how long it's stored. And ask them. I'd be curious to know. Ask them if the local law enforcement encourages them to use it. it could be quite an interesting conversation. I would like to hear about it. If you do, please comment. Let me know. I want to hear more about that and what they have to say. Send me an email, stevez@rangemindedpodcast.com. I'd be curious to hear what they have to say. And what do you think about old Quinton Tarantino and Bill Maher's conversation? Now, you can watch this whole thing. I actually watched that whole interview. It was like an hour and a half long, hour and 20 minutes long. It was actually kind of intriguing. I didn't think I was going to like it, but when I heard that they were going to talk about the Rush shooting, I was like, okay, I'll listen to it, see what it's about. It's actually, Tarantino's an interesting cat. He's weird, but some of his take and his knowledge on movies was pretty interesting, actually. Other than that, they're two libs talking about taking away my rights. So they didn't talk about gun control at all. That's what made it interesting. I didn't think I'd like that interview, but you don't have to watch it unless you want to. And then old Paul Harrell. If you're not subscribed to Paul Harrell's channel, jump on that channel and watch his videos. He's not, like I said, his brother's going to carry on his legacy, but it's not going to be the same. The channel's not going to be the same because Paul just had a way of presenting information that was fun. I mean, you just watch those 3 videos. He just had a way of teaching that nobody else could do. A very capable dude, by the way. A man that was incredibly healthy for his age, but man, pancreatic cancer got a hold of him and it kind of tore him up. Anyway, election season's coming up. I know I'm trying to make these episodes a little shorter, so I'm going to do my best. Election season's coming up. If you are not registered to vote, please get out there and make sure you're registered to vote. If you currently or recently moved from one place to another, even within the county, you check that registration. Get it taken care of. This election season's a big deal. I know you may not like Trump. You may not like Kennedy. You may not like Tulsi Gabbard. You may not like J.D. Vance. But at least we know that they're going to protect our rights for at least a little bit longer. And we have 2 Supreme Court justices, Thomas and one of the others, I can't remember. They're talking about retirement. 2 Supreme Court justices. So if Trump does not win and they retire, man, your rights, your Second Amendment rights are guaranteed to be under extreme pressure. Maybe not ousted completely, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be really, really rough for a long time. I know in the state of Idaho, we have over 100,000 gun owners / hunters who are not registered to vote. I know I said this last time in the last episode, but there are over 10 million gun owners across this country who are not registered to vote. 10 million. Are you serious? If you are one of those 10 million gun owners who are not registered, get off of your lazy butt and vote. Okay? We've talked about the assault weapons ban, the latest assault weapons ban. It basically encompasses everything but revolvers. And I guarantee they're going to get swept up as well for your safety. Get out and vote. We will be held responsible by our children and grandchildren for the rights that we threw away. They will be holding us responsible. Don't let that happen. We need to stay free. It's going to just get harder. It's just going to get worse. We look at what if that Venezuelan gang thing is real, it's a big deal, right? Nonetheless, open borders, we're going to see more violence. We're going to see more unrest. We need a way to defend our families and ourselves and our property. If you are one of those, I just had a coughing fit again. Sorry, so my voice is kind of crackly. If you're one of those 10 million gun owners and you're not registered to vote, you've seen the assault weapons ban. We've talked about the latest assault weapons ban and what it covers, which is everything. It may not cover break action shotguns and revolvers, but it will lead to it. Get your lazy butt up there and vote. I know you may not like who's running, but one side is a guaranteed threat to the Second Amendment, and the other side is at least a little bit prolonged. until we can make things better. It's a big deal. Get out there, get registered, and make your voice heard. Again, in your local elections, you got to do it. Your state elections is a must. But when we vote for president, that's where district and Supreme Court judges come from. And that is a major, major deal. So you got to be doing it. You got to be paying attention. If you don't believe me, what I say about the assault weapons ban, look it up. Read through it. I'm pretty sure I did an episode on it quite a while back when they posted it. Look it up. One side wants to take away your rights. And Walz and Harris said straight up, that would be the first thing they take out. Fight for your rights. Because the second upholds the rest of them. Pay attention. Anyways, love you guys. I'm going to let you go. Remember who you are and what you stand for. And please, you know what? You got to take somebody shooting. We need more family members in the 2A family. Take care and be safe.